Hi, welcome to Happenings. I'm Helen Moriarty. On this show, Leo Mancini-Hresko paints a portrait of Claire Gagnon, who is a local artist herself. Mancini-Hresko was born in Boston and studied at the Florence Academy of Art in Florence, Italy. After graduating, he was asked to teach there, and he stayed there for 11 years. Here, his students even learned how to make their own paint. Presently, he maintains a studio at Waltham Studios in Waltham, Massachusetts. Leo also holds workshops in his studio as well as in plein air. Come with me to watch Leo Mancini-Hresko paint a portrait and to see what is happening.
So Helen gave you a nice sort of overview. I was born here in Boston. I grew up in Brookline. I left, sort of reinvented my life, found a wonderful school, and then stayed there for my whole adult life up until the time I was 30. And my wife and I live in Boston and Rosendale. My studio's in Waltham. And I've just continued doing the sort of work that I did there, and my work continues to change a bit based on where I am and whether I'm painting inside or outside. But that's the shortest version of the story I can give you. Lately, I've been painting a lot of landscapes, both in the studio and outside, but I think watching me paint a landscape indoors isn't very exciting, so I almost always will, for this sort of thing, hire a live model and do a portrait sketch. I think that that's a nice sort of experience because you can see how the artist interprets nature, get a sense of their drawing ability and their process. You guys remember the only really crazy snowstorm we had so far, the first few days of January? That's that storm. I was outside, I think, 4 days on the picture and then touched it up another day in the studio. I do paint a lot in the winter. I'm interested in all the reflecting opalescent colors that you see and how clear the sky gets. When I lived in Florence, I had to drive 4.5 hours into the Alps to find snow. So it's really nice the snow comes to me now. That's a studio painting I did, I finished the other day, and that's just a very limited palette thing. So that's just painted with 3 colors, well, white and then cad yellow, cad red, and cobalt blue. It's got nothing else in it. So that'll bring a couple examples of my work so you guys can see the sort of stuff that I'm doing, and then the portrait sketch will be something we can sort of talk about as I go along, and we'll see what I come up with. I think a number of my friends have given demos here also. Tom Dunley, I think, was just here. So Tom and I don't know each other super well, but our training has been really similar. We talk to each other online a bit, and we have many students in common. Tom and I, he's a really nice guy. I didn't know he was giving a demo here. I would have loved to have come and sat for that so I could meet all of you. But I think my friend Stave Kearns has been here once or twice also. And Stave's somebody I paint with a lot outside. The training that those guys received is sort of a traditional Boston school training, turn of the 20th century, from a teacher in the Fenway Studios called R.H. Ives Gamble. The studio that I studied at in Italy is coincidentally based on the same tradition. So although it's all the way in Florence, I've received, I had to go all the way to Florence to get a very Bostonian sort of look at it. The irony is still just like seeping. So before I start, and at the end maybe remind me to talk about classes and stuff, because I do have a really cool class this weekend. Okay, so let me talk you through my materials a little bit. I paint almost exclusively in oils. I do paint in watercolor. I grabbed my portfolio today because since I was doing a portrait demonstration, I believe you.
She quits.
She's gone, isn't she? No, since I'm doing a portrait sketch, I meant to grab my portfolio with all my watercolor portraits in it so you could see some of my sketches. For some reason, I grabbed the wrong one. But there are some charcoal and pencil portraits and self-portraits, so you guys can all come up and get a sense of that. the most important part of painting sort of is drawing anyway, so it's nice to have examples of, you know, drawn portraits to at least, you know, give a sense of what I do. So I paint pretty much always with oils, and I'm a pretty traditional guy. I imagine this is similar to stuff you guys have heard before, but I use a relatively limited palette. This is titanium white and lead, can everybody see? Titanium white with lead white mixed into it. I like titanium white because it's great for sketching outdoors. You can go really white really quickly, but the handling quality of lead white is just, there's no comparison between the two. So for a sketch like this, sometimes I'll mix the two together. Really good quality yellow ochre. I do like earth pigments, but if you buy lower quality earth pigments, they don't mix really beautifully into the darks, they go chalky, so this is quite a nice yellow ochre. That's cad red light, ultramarine, alizarin, a very dark raw umber from Russia, and ivory black. A nice thing about the school that I went to is everybody's extremely interested in their materials, I think in a way that not everybody is in the States. You know, we just go to the art store and buy a tube of paint, you know, or which color should I buy? I don't know, I'll get that one. But the school that I went to, we go through and after studying this stuff, I ended up teaching the course of it, which is how to grind your own paint, how to make your own canvas from scratch, how to purify oils and varnishes, and stuff that frankly I don't have time for anymore, and I doubt all of you have time for, but what it's been able to do is give me a great deal of discernment as to what colors I might prefer. And I liken this to when I tell people, I say, you can take a cooking class, but that doesn't mean you're going to cook every meal for the rest of your life. However, that may help you decide if you want to eat one thing or another. I think many of us go to the art store and we actually don't know if we're buying filet mignon or McDonald's. You know, there's just, it's really difficult to tell the difference between the two. So although my palette is very small, I think, by many, or this is just a 3-color palette there, by selecting really good quality colors that I know I can get the most out of, I can get a great deal of color out of very few colors. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So is there any particular brand that you?
So I use a bunch of different stuff. Have you guys ever used Michael Harding? He's here in Massachusetts now. He's from England. He's a paint maker. He's a friend of mine. He makes really good quality stuff. My white is a mixture of Williamsburg and a company called Natural Pigments. I have nothing hand ground with me today. With the little boy, it's become a lot harder to find time to paint. But yeah, there's some colors I like better from one producer or another, and I just sort of keep an eye on that, I guess. Are you ready?
I am.
You look ready.
So is the yellow ochre Michael Harding?
The yellow ochre is from Natural Pigments, they're called Blue Ridge Yellow Ochre. It's a very nice color.
How did you decide on that undertone there, that tan undertone? How did you decide?
Oh, I just wanted to get the white off my canvas. It could be anything. Sometimes I'll put a gray, a green, orange. Sometimes I put nothing. But I do like, for a portrait sketch scenario, where, frankly, I don't paint anything worth, I paint sketches in a couple hours, but all of these things are many days of work, right? So what's important to me is in a situation where you all want to see me create something, I want to get that white off my canvas as soon as possible so I can start painting into this soup of color. You know, this is a color that could work well in the skin tone, in the shadow, it could work in a halftone in the scarf. It's just, you know, it's just friendly, is all. Like me.
Don't move now.
Now, the easiest way to do this for me, and I hope this is okay with all of you, I've sort of given you my spiel. Just feel free to call out questions while I'm painting from time to time. Give me some time to paint for a few minutes, but But we can talk as I'm working, but I sort of will lose the train of my thought if I, if I focus on talking alone, I'll never get anything done. Here's turn just a tick that way. There you go. One thing I'll tell you all is I almost never paint sitting down. But for this situation, because she's seated there, I don't want to be looking down on her, and it wouldn't be as much fun if you guys could see what I was doing if I was sort of looming over it. So I will get up from time to time just to see what I'm doing. Some thickened oil is usually my favorite medium. This might have a little bit of Canadian balsam in it as well. I go through long periods where I'll paint with only linseed oil, and then I'll use more complex mediums depending on whether I need to glaze or whether I need things to dry fast. I just mixed a bottle of medium. I'm going with some of my friends to Vermont next week to paint for a couple weeks. It's gonna be cold. So I just made some medium that's gonna set up fast for that trip. I think painting is about control. So every project that I do, often the colors and the medium and the brushes I might change my mind as to which I would want to use.
Do you usually paint with artificial light?
Never.
So is it hard to see what you're doing?
The glare is actually a little difficult right now. but I think I'll get it worked out. I mean, I like to be flexible. I like to be able to go from paint outside, paint inside, paint at the museum, paint at someone's house, paint in my studio. But my studio is a north lit studio. It has wonderful, clear lighting that doesn't change throughout the day. I like to be flexible. The school that I went to was relatively rigid about process, so it was nice for me to sort of shake that off when I left, and I guess try to paint in all sorts of different lighting scenarios and not commit too much to one way of working.
What do you think of the Obama portraits?
Pretty nice. Pretty nice. They're not. I think everybody put a lot of weight attached to them. Like it was just a huge social media thing and stuff. But they're actually not the official portraits. They're for the Smithsonian, for the Hall of Presidents. But the official portraits won't get done until later this year. So I don't think those artists have been selected yet. I'm happy whenever realist painting gets brought to the limelight, whenever there's national news story about a portrait. I mean, there's a lot of good in that for anybody who's an easel painter like me. When I moved back to the States, almost 8 years ago now, and I would tell people I'm a painter. They'd say, "Oh, you have a crew? I need to get my ceiling done." And I was kind of shocked the first couple times I heard that, but then I started saying, "Oh, you have no idea how expensive that would be."
Sistine Chapel.
Yeah, I mean, Kehinde Wiley is not my favorite portrait artist, but I think he did a fine job, and I found the whole thing impressive, and I was happy to see it get so much press. So this light's actually quite orange. It's interesting. You guys probably aren't seeing this as very blue, and I'm not either. But look how blue that is on my palette. Yeah, so this is one of the difficult things about painting in an artificial light. Can everybody see that?
Yeah.
I mean, that's pure cobalt blue right there I'm mixing into it.
Oh, it's green.
Well, it's green next to it, yeah, but that's pure blue right there. You see that? And when I touch it there, it doesn't look really blue, it looks kind of gray, right? So that's a really warm orange light, negating all that blue. You guys want to see something cool?
Yeah.
All right, let's take a break for a second. I can give you his email. Would that be all right?
Yeah.
So that looks a little better. You can see that blue spot now, right? Isn't that neat? He built this for me special. This is 3D printed, this part and this part. He built this for me special because I like to paint sometimes. Last year in Vermont, I did a decent sized picture, 16 by 20, something like that. But I painted at night and in the rain, so I get all the reflections on the street. It's really exciting, kind of miserable being out in February in the rain. But I had him build me a waterproof kit so I can paint with this indoors, outdoors. And please, Helen, just remind me and I'll give you the guy's information.
What's his last name?
Woodman,
Wooden.
yes. Yeah, sorry, I have his card, but not with me. That looks better. Painting, and I see what sticks. And as you can see, I haven't committed to anything. Everything, just little spots of paint. I don't know how far I'm gonna get. I didn't know I was gonna get this far. You never know what's gonna happen. But every time you start a picture, you should try to work on it respectfully and not push too hard. I've been focusing almost exclusively just on drawing and structure, And not just in one area, but working down here, up here, trying to hop around a bit. Who said that? Will you come to my studio? I just need you in the back. Oh, that looks good. Oh,
You just caught something there and it started to gel. You know, very nice. Yeah, very nice.
you started talking and then I make a mistake. Okay, can I tell you guys a couple things? So my studio in Waltham, not too far away. I run about 4 to 6 workshops for guest teachers in my studio. These are all the people that I invite to teach. Most of them have a connection to Florence or to the community that I used to be part of in Italy. And everybody besides Stapleton College who teaches out of my studio has never taught in New England before. So they're all new people that I bring on my website and see anything that's upcoming. I also run, as Helen was saying, maybe 2 or 3 demos open to the public each year. I don't charge anything for the demos. They're all interesting people to come and paint. You're welcome to come to any of those also. Like she was saying, I do need to know who's coming. So the best thing for you to do for either of those things is to get on my mailing list on my website. There's a form. Click the classes tab. You can put your email in, and that way, whatever is happening in the studio, you find out about it. But I've tried to focus on, since coming back, this concept of trying to foster community a little bit. I very much missed the community I had in Italy, where I was surrounded by like-minded people from many different art schools, and we talked and thought about nothing but painting and drawing. And I moved back to Boston, and although there's a lot of people interested in the arts, it's very fractured. You know, there's the universities that people are interested in, the art centers. So I decided to sort of try to make a bit of a art center of my own, which has been going pretty well. I have a nice group of people that come to my weekly classes and to the workshops.
What kind of brushes do you use?
These are all bristles, pure hog bristle. I tend not to use synthetics. I use bristles, sables, and mongoose hair brushes. Very rarely do I reach for a synthetic. Oh God, yeah. It works great. Very careful though. Thank you all very much.
Thank you so much, Leo Mancini-Hresko, for such an interesting oil portrait demonstration. Painting a portrait can be tricky, but you captured Claire Gagnon perfectly.